Hello, everybody, and welcome to this interview with a special guest, Rina Ahluwalia. And Rina is a carnivore, very strict carnivore, and has benefited immensely from this kind of diet. So I'm excited to talk about you regarding your experience with that. But first, welcome, Rina.
Thank you.
And let's just go ahead and dive right in. Let's start with why. Why carnivore diet?
Well, that is a long-winded answer that I might have, but I'll try to condense it. So, as you said, Sarah, I have been doing carnivore for the last 10 months. And I've really, through my journey of nearly 40 years, I've really tried to find my optimal health. And that is what I found, it's a very complex journey because it's not just about diet, it's not just about what you eat. A lot of the time, our childhood trauma and our experiences through life can manifest into problems or issues within our health, within our body, within our skin. And it's not just diet. So for me, doing the carnivore diet for the last 10 months, it's really been very healing. And that was extremely surprising to me in terms of emotional healing, healing in terms of childhood trauma, which I'll touch on like when you ask me about it and we can talk
Yeah.
about it. But it's really regulated my emotions to feel better, to be able to think clearer as well. The other thing is that I did have a lot of restrictive eating patterns, portion control, calorie counting, done every single diet on the planet.
Mm.
And when I did carnivore, I just switched from doing keto to carnivore literally overnight. And it just worked really well where I didn't have to think about how much should I eat? Am I eating the right thing? How many times per day should I be eating? Should I be fasting? That's another interesting thing that I learned through this carnivore journey is that I actually don't fast. And that's what we see with a lot of other carnivores, fabulous carnivores out there, this idea about you must intermittent fast or do, ribeye steaks or bacon. And through my journey, I've just learned and tossed a lot of things that I thought that I should be doing. And it's really been amazing in terms of what I've achieved, but mostly it is not just what I'm eating, but that healing. It's true healing. And even like when I talk to others and other doctors, they don't quite know the mechanism of how it helps with your emotional health. But
Mm.
for me, that's definitely something that I have seen.
So listening to you talk about that, I don't know if you've ever heard of the term dysthymic disorder or dysthymia, which is a form, it's not depression, but it is having just a low level mood just overall. I don't know if that rings a bell, or if you feel like that applies to you, because I know for me that is something that when I'm on carnivore goes away, versus when I was just
Yeah.
doing keto. Like an overall like depression of the mood. So I don't know if that might explain it, but I think also, of course, like you mentioned, and we're gonna touch upon the childhood traumas because we have a lot to unpack there.
Yes.
That's amazing that carnivore has done that for you, and so it seems like your mood is better overall.
Yes. And even we discussed just previously, I have been through a bit of a change in the past few weeks with personal relationship breakup. But even then, just my emotional health and my emotional well-being, it has been a lot more balanced. And
Mm,
even I attribute it to just eating, more saturated fat. When you feel more satisfied from especially eating red meat like beef, you just have that sense of being able to think a lot more clearer. Whereas previously, if I was eating more like keto or vegetarian or paleo, you do have these ups and downs, especially when I was eating things like nuts, like
yeah,
vegetables, like fruits. I wasn't ever quite feeling so full. And when I
yeah.
don't feel full, I cannot think clearly. Most people can just go, a lot of people can actually go for hours and be hungry. For me, if I feel an ounce of hunger, it's like something triggers me and I have to eat because I have that restrictive eating background. So that's why,
Yeah.
again, with carnivore, I'm always full, especially if you're eating beef, salmon, eggs, and butter. And that's what I rotate on routinely. I just don't get that sense of feeling hungry. And when I eat, it's because I'm wanting to eat, not from a sense of urgency.
Interesting. How would you describe going through that personal change, which is a very stressful time? And did you stay completely strict with your diet, or was there, you know, because when people go through life changes, oftentimes that can be a trigger to kind
Yes.
of slip a little bit.
Yes.
So maybe you can talk and advise us on your experience regarding that.
Yeah. So the experience that we're talking about is a relationship breakup after 4 years. And I am mindful that many people go through many, many things. And, you know, I've really been talking to a lot of friends and different people around challenges that people go through in their lives. And a breakup is, it's something, but there's a lot of other things that happen in people's lives. So I am mindful about that. But coming back to carnivore, I am an all or nothing personality, very type A, OCD, although that's helped with carnivore as well. And what's actually happened through this breakup, and the breakup happened about 3 weeks ago. What's actually happened in this breakup is that I couldn't eat because I was feeling so stressed. And when you go through emotional stress, it can manifest in different ways for different people. So, especially when it goes, so when you experience trauma, and that's a type of trauma that actually manifests in your brain, in your emotional well being, and also your body as well. So, I found it really, really hard to eat. And I was feeling very sick when I was eating as well. So, and I was eating the same things. I predominantly eat beef and I eat ground beef. And I usually eat about 2 meals a day. But the amount of food that I would usually eat, I couldn't eat that. And I was just honoring what was happening for me because, especially when we go through different stresses in our lives, whether it be relationship breakup, whether it be what's happening in the world right now, whether it be work,
Yeah.
sometimes we have a different emotional response to food. You can eat more, you can eat less. And that's where we talk about the mindset and honoring what's happening for you and your body, what your body needs. Because if you're having that response, that physical response around not wanting to eat, that's okay. You don't need to force it. Staying on the journey, staying on the lifestyle is good because when I'm eating, I'm feeding myself nutrients, but I didn't force myself. And then even now, after 3 weeks, I am feeling that I can eat a little bit more, but it's going to take time. You know, these things in life that happen, it does take time to heal and to and to just gain your own confidence. And that's why, you know, eating is complicated, going out, socializing, even being around different people that tend to have a more extroverted personality. I can find that quite draining, especially now because, you know, going through something that's quite emotional. But
Yeah.
it just passes through time. So to answer your question, I've been even more strict carnivore. So yeah, it's been quite good.
That's I'm so glad to hear that that you know that is also helping you with your emotional reaction to difficult life changes, you know, and stressful
Mm.
times. So, you know, we're all
And I
rooting
think
for you.
also, sorry, the complication, well, not the complication is that I can't sleep. So that makes it hard because my brain just goes on and on and on with memories and, you know, and it's only 4 years. I know people have been together for 20, 30. I'm sure that your viewers, they have beautiful marriages, beautiful relationships. So 4 years is not that much, but you do hold on to a lot of memories. And when your brain attaches to those memories, it tries to think, oh, okay, I had that memory, and then you have a feeling of sadness or emotion that comes from it. And
Yeah,
typically that happens at nighttime when I want to sleep.
of
But
course.
again, honoring the process and
Yeah,
time heals it. So
I agree. Yeah, like we talked, you know, earlier, but you know,
yeah.
we're all sending you hugs right now.
Oh,
And
thank you, Sarah.
you know, you're gonna get through this.
Thank
So,
you.
Rina, before you transitioned into carnivore, you were on a vegan diet?
So I was doing a vegetarian type vegan diet just for a year. So basically, in my history, I've done every diet. So I've done keto, and I love the keto lifestyle. I was doing vegetarian vegan for just 1 year, although even through my 20s, I did do a high carb, low fat diet, staying away from meats. And I was eating a lot of potato, grains, dairy, nuts and seeds, because I was thinking that meat wasn't healthy. And I was thinking that looking at all these models, looking at all these beautiful women out there, what do we see them eat? Avocado toast,
Right,
some
exactly.
eggs. We
Right,
see them eat like fish and lots of vegetables and, oh, I just have a salad. But for me, I cannot have a salad and feel full. I get hangry and I get angry. And I know a
yeah,
lot of women feel like that because that's actually what we feel as a woman. Like, I mean, sometimes as a woman, we actually feel that we should just be having a salad and I should eat less than my partner or less than the guy. But that's
right.
not the case. I eat more than my friends and even my ex-partner. And that's okay because I'm eating for what I need. And even
Mm.
now, just eating meat, that's the transition that you have to make in terms of you need to be eating what's the appropriate nourishment for your body. When I was eating vegetarian vegan, I didn't go quite vegan because I still had eggs. And when I was doing vegetarian, that was so difficult. My mood was like low. Oh my goodness, it was beyond hard.
And the reason you did all those diets was mainly just to be healthy, or was it because you wanted to drop body fat? Like, what was the always the main driver of all of those different stages?
The main driver was definitely coming from my childhood in terms of control issues. So
Mm.
when you and that's what we spoke about previously. When you don't get this kind of support and love as a child, you attach yourself to external. I mean, it can happen that you attach yourself to external indicators to validate yourself.
Mm.
So the validation is not coming from internally. So what I did was I said, okay, let me control how I look. And that's going to give me a sense of happiness. And let me tell you, it doesn't. It was a very vicious cycle. So even from my early 20s, I started to go to the gym. And then over time, I was on the treadmill for an hour and a half every single day. Every
Wow.
single day. Now,
Right.
when you're exercising that much and also studying and also having, an active lifestyle, as I said, I was eating a high carb, low fat diet. But
Mhm.
what I developed was an eating disorder called night eating syndrome.
Yeah.
And what that means is that you wake up in the middle of the night and you eat uncontrollable amounts. It's usually your daily worth of calories or a vast majority of your daily calories that you'll eat at nighttime. Now,
Okay.
what happened? So that's a lot. So when I say night eating syndrome, it's not 9 p.m. at night on the couch just eating lots of chocolate and food. You actually go to sleep at night. You wake up, let's just say 1 a.m. and you don't know that you're doing this. You go to the fridge and you eat loads of food.
Wow. Okay, so that's very similar to binge eating disorder. The only difference is that with binge eating, it can happen at any time, but with night eating syndrome, it's happening in the middle of the night. Like you just
Yes,
wake up and and so for how long did you struggle with that?
10 years.
Wow.
So
Okay.
from when I was 20 to
Yeah.
when I was about 30, roughly. And there was a time, Sarah, that it was so bad. I would socially isolate because I would wake up in the morning and I would have such a bloated stomach. And then naturally, you can't eat during the day. You don't feel like eating. So when you're asking me about the diets that I did those diets because I was trying to find how can I solve my night eating syndrome? What do I need to do to stop doing this? Because I didn't know why I was doing it. I didn't tell anybody. I
Mm.
saw a psychologist, psychiatrist, they put me on Zoloft because at that time and even now, night eating syndrome is not well known. It's a very niche type of eating disorder.
Hmm.
But through my own journey, and again, it's a journey of 40 years. It's when you do have childhood trauma, verbal abuse, physical, well, sorry, not physical, but some sexual abuse, emotional abuse, this manifests into various different ways of control or different things that happen in your life. And for me, going through that, that's how I controlled it. That's how my body interpreted what was happening to me as a child. And it was a coping mechanism to say, Rina, you're okay. Rina, this is going to give you some nourishment and love. But it wasn't doing that, obviously.
So I think now is a great time to go back and talk about the childhood trauma, because I think we won't really understand how you got out of it unless we start from the beginning, right?
Yeah. So my parents divorced when I was 7, and and as I said, I don't have any memory of my childhood up until I would say 15. In my teens, I don't have any memories from my childhood, but I do recall one day I was saying to my dad, so my dad was packing up his stuff, and I said to my dad, Dad, where are you going? He said, I have to leave. And I said, okay. And then after that, I saw him drive out of the driveway, and I knew that something was wrong, but that was the day that my parents divorced and separated. And then so through my childhood, my mum at the time, she was relying on my dad a lot for income, for everything in life. My dad was the type of person very much like me, and that's where I got my personality from in terms of OCD, making everything perfect, type A personality, doing everything in the house. My dad would be the type of person that was doing 3 jobs just to let my mum stay at home and bring up 2 kids. He was doing the mortgage payments. He was doing the lawn. He would take us on holidays. He would do all these different things just to try to give us a very normal childhood. But when my dad left, my mum was left in pieces. She didn't know how to pick up her life and how to navigate her life. So she actually found comfort in a relationship, and she's still with that partner now, and he's a lovely guy. But basically at that time, she would actually go away for a few weeks at a time on holiday with him and leave me alone with my sister. And again, this was, I don't know the exact age, but it was definitely like when I was younger, around, 10, I think age 10 or so. And my sister would then have people over, guys over, be doing drugs. And then I would be crying in my room. So, and I do have flashbacks of memories of things that did happen. So I do recall a time that I was in my room and I was just saying to my sister, just leave me alone. And she would bang on my door, trying to annoy me, and I'd be crying, and my mom wasn't there. Like there were certain things that happened in my life where I got my period, and I didn't know what period was because nobody taught me about what period is and what I need to do. And so I had to, I think I didn't Google, but I probably asked someone, what do I do? Like, what is this blood? Like all these natural, and I know that's a bit TMI, but all these
No,
things.
this just goes to show how much of
Yeah.
an impact that can have on a child to have an,
Yeah.
absent parental figure. Both
Yeah.
are absent.
Yeah. And there's many other things as well that I didn't have any support in school. It was just, I mean, I did go to school. School was okay, but there was no encouragement. There was no guidance. I was just left on my own just to manage my own life. And that's where, that's probably why I went from relationship to relationship to try to find guidance in my life, because I never had that as a child. And then there was a lot of emotional, verbal abuse in terms of mostly coming from my sister, because she was just she went through a very difficult time as well. So her difficult time was more of an overt experience than mine. And it's interesting that when 2 people go through a similar experience, one is very open and, screaming and yelling and throwing cups and mugs at my mum and me, and, police would come over, and she went to jail and for overnight. And I was just like, oh my God. But she did all that, I really hope she doesn't watch this video, but theft, stealing, I don't know. There's a lot of stuff that I don't know if I should say, but I was seeing all this stuff. And so she did all that as a overt behavior, so open behaviors that people can see, because she was going through all that emotional turmoil. But for
Mhm.
me, I was just the looking like that little cute innocent girl that was just like this, you know,
Yeah,
not seeing anything, not doing anything. But
yeah,
that manifests into something that it's beyond belief, that the problems that you can have later on in life, um, trust issues. My family has betrayed me a lot. I Yeah, I mean, and that's, but the good thing about it is, what I found through this journey is that when it comes to trust, love, support, and everything that you need, inner wisdom, it all comes from yourself. And that's what we spoke about previously, which is
yeah,
supporting your own self, your own journey, your own individual. That's going to help you be able to attract and to enjoy your life with others. And it's a very difficult thing, because especially we're taught, and what we see is that your mother is your mother, your father is your father, and they teach you certain things in life. You have siblings, you have, everything externally in our lives. But sometimes if we detach to these labels in life, we can truly find freedom and find happiness and find joy, and we
yeah,
can release these traumas. And for me, it never goes away. There's always triggers, but I don't have night eating syndrome. I don't look for others for love and attachment. I don't think, okay, I have this job, this car, I live here, and that's who I am. I detach from all those things, because we are not all those things. We are
yeah,
not our jobs. We are not what people think of us. We are not whether we're married or not. That's another thing, given the fact that I'm 40 next year. A lot of people look at you and say, well, are you married? Do you have kids? Do you have a property? Are you
yeah,
traveling? Like, what's next?
yeah.
And it's really detaching around that. And there's so many ways that we can do that to cultivate your mind.
Yeah, society, yeah, I agree that we have to do the work to change our mindset and to remain strong, because society at every turn, especially when you're a woman, they have to label you or put you in a box or tell you what you can and cannot do. So I completely understand where you're coming from. And the fact of also, you were raised in Australia, right? But you
Yes.
have Indian heritage, correct?
Yes.
And so, and I think that's similar also to the way that I was raised. It's like when we come from different backgrounds like that, it seems like parents aren't very open with their love and support, and it's showing, emotional attachment, or showing you love like explicitly, because in their minds that's the way they were raised, and so they think that that's okay to raise their children like that. But then we grow up feeling like we have to do so much and we have to be perfect, and it's always been conditional love. So I think that you and I, are very similar in that aspect, and I wonder how much of that influences later on the addictive component in our brain and food, because night eating syndrome seems to me very similar to binge eating. And when I did my dissertation on addiction and eating disorders, it was all about the way that addiction works in your brain. It's the same reward pathways that love or attachment activates, and it's also similar to depressive states. So also, depressive states are very similar also to eating disorders in many ways. So as we were talking about all of the childhood impact on our addictive tendencies, this brings me back to the night eating syndrome. What was it that, in your opinion, finally eliminated that problem for you?
So for me, I think that the journey of stopping calorie counting, stopping the restrictive mindset, and when I started keto, so when in my 30s, when I started keto, I noticed that I wasn't feeling this sense of, because even when I was doing night eating syndrome over exercising and doing all the diets, I always felt a little bit hungry and never satisfied. But when you transition to eating meat or even vegetables or a keto based diet, I did find that that need for actually eating and not feeling so satisfied, that went away.
Hmm.
And what I did was, with the night eating syndrome, I actually implemented some soothing routines just to let myself know that, you know what, Rina, you're loved. You are cared for. So even, it sounds very weird, but hugging yourself, rubbing my feet together, putting a candle on and giving myself affirmations, journaling, all these mindset tools, which I even do today, to cultivate a sense of security for my inner child, to let my inner child know that, you know what, you are loved, you are safe. And that's the thing, that our bodies don't know the difference between what's happened in our brains or in the past or the future. They don't know the difference between that and what's actually happening. So your body is going through a survival mode. So if your brain uh, um, in terms of your brain chemistry is wired by old behaviors, and if you're not feeding yourself proper nutrients, then you're going to be doing behaviors that even you can't control. Maybe it might manifest to night eating syndrome, or it could be different things like anger, it could be drug abuse, it could be sugar addiction, it could be so many different things. But when you actually step back and work on healing the insides, and I did a lot of work speaking with psychologists, doing a lot of reading, and actually practicing what I was listening to. And that's the key, is not just to listen to so many different things, because a lot of people have different ways of doing things, but actually experimenting and finding what works for you as a person, because what's going to work for one person might not work for the other person. And that's even for us. You're more hyper carnivore. I need to be carnivore because I can't have fruit. Fruit is going to make me want to
Yeah.
have sugar.
No,
Fruit,
I'm no longer hyper carnivore, just so you know.
ah,
Yeah, because
really?
I
Okay.
agree. Yeah, it's too much of a trigger for my brain. It's just
Yeah.
harder. It's harder to stick to it when your brain remembers that sweetness, you know, and that
So
carbohydrate.
even sweetness, even when I was keto, although that really helped with night eating syndrome, almond flour cookies. I would make almond flour cookies, a whole tray full. And do you know how long it lasts for? 5
What?
minutes.
That's me. That's like
Yep.
exactly like what you're describing is like the same addiction that we struggle with is, night eating syndrome or even just like sugar addiction. And for me,
Yes.
it's sugar addiction and binge eating disorder. Like those are the two
Yes.
things.
Yeah. Even peanut butter. It's not sweet, but I can eat half the jar of it.
Yeah, yeah,
And
our
I
brains. Yeah.
don't get full. Like, I speak to
Mm.
other carnivores, even with carnivore foods, unless it's just beef and meat, I can not binge, because you can't, it's hard for me to binge on carnivore foods, but even things like dairy. I know you love your cheese.
Yeah,
But
that's so funny you say that because I just bought 2 bags of cheese and we're just talking to my husband and we're talking about diets and stuff like, you know what? I wish I never bought them. And then I was like, you know what? I'm not gonna throw them, but let's just put them in the freezer. So just put them in the freezer so that I don't, because it's so easy to add it on every meat or every
yes,
eggs, it
yes.
becomes, and like you said, it's hard to control those very addictive foods. So cheese is mainly made of casein. It's a kind of protein, right? The main protein. And literally when you eat casein from cheese, it converts into caseomorphin in your body, which activates the opioid receptors, which are the same receptors that morphine and heroin attach to in your brain, hence the addictive potential.
Yep. I
Yeah.
mean, I don't know the theory behind it. So exactly like what you said, but I know that when I eat something, and I've eaten, like, say for example, a camembert cheese, like a wheel this big, or triple brie cheese, and I eat the
Yeah.
whole thing in one setting with loads of beef. That's not normal. So I know that when I do that, I think, no, I can't have that food. I
Right.
can't have that food because there's something in there that's making me eat more. That's the same also with things like cream. I can drink cream from the container
I haven't done that yet. That's
Well, I'm just saying that, I
yeah.
mean, it sounds very extreme. Like I don't do that, but I'm just saying that I can have a lot of cream. I don't have this feeling of like, oh, I've just eaten this and I'm full and I'm carnivore and that's fine. No, 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 no. Like I can't do that unless it comes to just eating really plain food like beef or salmon or eggs. I get those cues that I'm feeling satisfied and I can stop. But I can't really have a lot of other things, even chicken. So I did a 30-day beef only challenge, and I was having chicken previously, and then I introduced chicken back, and I actually thought, you know what, that's not making me feel as good as having things like beef and salmon.
Interesting. So you cut
Yeah.
that out now.
I don't eat chicken, no, unless I get served it and I'm at a friend's house or something that I can't control. I don't
Yeah.
have chicken, no.
So I guess the
And
conclusion,
even, sorry, with eggs, I don't have egg whites. I only have yolks
why?
because I get more full and I feel satisfied when I'm having the yolks. And when I eat egg whites, I physically don't feel good. It doesn't make me feel full, or it doesn't make me feel, it's a very hard it's very hard for me to communicate what I'm feeling. I don't feel my best. So now,
Mhm.
because when you go pure, like really pure, you know the difference between what's going to make you feel a 10 out of 10, a 9 out of 10, a 5 out of 10, and a 1 out of 10. So
Yeah.
I really try to get 10 out of 10, because when I'm 10 out of 10, I can emotionally regulate my emotions, my hormones, and I can just feel better. And for me, that's really, really important. I can think better, I can sleep better, apart from these last few weeks, but I can think better, I can just operate better. And I don't get these compulsions, or I don't get these addictive qualities in my personality, because I'm very much like that. With many things, I go all or nothing in, but I can just, when I'm just feeding myself well, I'm rested, I'm feeling good, I can just have that pause button to think, is that right for me? Do I need to do that? So the addictive qualities in my personality tend to come down.
Very interesting. It all boils down to addiction, and you know the reason why people are still struggling all over the world, but especially in the United States, is because we still don't appreciate just how addictive 99.99% of the food around us is. And so, because it's such a wild thing or idea for people to comprehend, it's like, no way. What do you mean just meat and everything else could be potentially addictive? The answer is yes.
Yeah.
And so eventually, you know, you will want to come to a point in your life like you have, and just realize like it's either that, or I'm going to keep on struggling and just having to do all these other things just to feel good. It doesn't mean that all the other things, that there are so many things people can do, you know, like, you know, meditation, exercise, all that kind of stuff helps, but it can consume your life if you're just trying to use that to compensate for a poor diet, when you know that is the real cause of so many ailments that we're going through. I
Yeah.
wanted to ask you, since we're talking about your diet, what your diet is like right now. Also, if you do coffee, spices, and I think you mentioned dairy. We're not doing dairy anymore, correct?
Well, so in terms of what I eat every single day, it is 99% ground beef, fatty ground beef. I can eat the same meal every single day for years. I have that kind of personality. I get it that most people might not be able to do that, but I can do that. So I just buy grain-fed beef. It's
Yeah.
80/20, and I just pop that in the air fryer. I'll make meatballs, I'll make burgers, I will make mini sliders. I'll just do ground beef like in the fry pan. And usually what I add to that is Redmond's real salt, just to keep it really basic. And I would probably add a few boiled eggs. Um, what else do I have? I also have salmon, but the reason why I don't have that much salmon is because what we buy here is farm raised salmon, so it's not wild caught. So I do love the taste of salmon, but I am mindful of, you know, the quality of the food, because I notice that when it comes to, as I said, eating quality food, simple food, less ingredients, I'm feeling much better and I can actually have less sleep. So that's you, previously I would need to have 9 hours sleep, at least 8, 9 hours sleep. Now I could do, you know, 5, 6, 7 hours, varies. But the thing is, I don't feel tired and I don't have this kind of sleep debt where I feel I need to, you know, have more sleep. And I think that's because when you're feeding yourself proper nutrients and if you're having more REM sleep and
Mm,
deep sleep, it's more restorative. But that's going to vary for different people as well. So I don't want to say that everybody needs 7 hours,
yeah,
6 hours. It varies for different people,
yeah.
especially when you're going through stress, you have more or less sleep. But on a usual basis, that's how much sleep I need.
And how long did it take you for noticing this that you need less sleep and still waking up refreshed with less sleep? So how
When
long
I
after
did
a strict carnivore, I guess?
when I did beef only, I
Uh-huh.
really noticed a difference. And I cut out coffee. So now I'm having coffee. I have a bit of heavy cream in it, and then the rest of the day I'll just have beef, eggs, and sometimes maybe once a week some salmon. But when I did beef only, I noticed I even now I wake up at 5 a.m., 4:35 a.m. without an alarm,
Wow. Okay, that's
and I
incredible.
sleep at about but bear in mind, I do a lot of other things apart from just diet to optimize how I'm feeling, a lot of other things. So that's why I do like to say carnivore cures. As we know, carnivore can cure so many diseases, so many ailments, so many things, but your mindset still matters. And what you do every single day, it matters to how you feel. There's not just, unfortunately, there's not just one thing that you
Yeah.
can do to live your best life. There's a few things.
Yeah, and you talk about so many of these things on your YouTube channel, so I'm excited for people to check your channel out because I've watched a lot of your videos and they're very helpful with, affirmations, mindset, healing traumas, all that kind of stuff. Um, do you take any supplements?
No, I don't. I tried collagen peptides just to try it, but I don't do that on a routine basis. I really try to really nut down a simple, affordable lifestyle that is something that I can just do forever. Because if I'm eating a proper human diet and I don't have any deficiencies that's illustrated by blood labs, I don't feel the need to take supplements.
Yeah.
Um, my coffee, I just love, it's my vice. I actually did a video on coffee and then I just said, look, guys, I'm having coffee and I know it might have some mycotoxins. It's probably not the best for you, but sometimes you have a vice that you just can't get rid of. It's not sugar, dairy, wheat, grains, or whatever the case is, but I do like my coffee. It's black coffee just with a bit of cream.
No
But, and
sugar,
that's not a,
sweet taste.
oh, no, no, no. I can't do sweet taste. So erythritol, monk fruit, stevia, these aren't things that you should. I don't want to say that you should, but for me, I can't have that in my diet. Any sweet taste, like even heavy cream, it tastes sweet to me.
Yeah.
Is that
Yeah.
strange?
No, because I understand 100%. Because once you remove all of those strong, sweet additions, then your palate resets itself. And so now you can actually taste natural sweetness in a way that you never could before. So
Yeah.
I now I understand why you're drinking it sometimes.
Well, it's just so nice. But I mean, I'm just saying that with that, I don't have that natural stop button with carnivore foods where I can just say, you know what, I've had enough, I feel full. And a lot of people can. But when you have restricted for so many years, decades, that doesn't go away. Your triggers from childhood, your triggers from any experience, they don't
Yeah.
just go away. you can heal it over time, and you can do, strategies and mechanisms to change your story, because that's a lot of the time what it is. Your brain is geared towards thinking a certain way. Even our thoughts that we have every single day, you're just telling yourself a story about how you perceive the world. You can have a stimulus and have two different people seeing that same stimulus. You're going to get two different stories. One person could see it as bad, one person could see it as good. So
Yeah.
I change my story in my head.
And how do you, I want to ask you more about the mindset things, because I feel like you have a lot of experience and a lot of things to share with us regarding that. But first, let's like cover also the cravings on a strict carnivore diet. A lot of people struggle a lot with cravings, especially at the beginning. So I'm wondering, how was your experience on that diet, and versus right now, and how long it took for cravings maybe to subside, or like just overall how was your experience with cravings on carnivore?
So with cravings, I did have cravings for something sweet. So when I was going from keto overnight to carnivore, I stopped the avocado, I stopped the nuts, I stopped the almond flour and those cookies and all that kind of thing. So I did have a craving for, when you eat something and you feel full, but you just have that, I just want that something sweet or salty or just something extra. So what I did was to use other things on top. So for me, I used two things: butter with some salt, even eating some bits of butter. And what the butter does, it goes into your mouth and it kind of has a very palatable taste. So you kind of, for me, that worked in terms of like a finisher. It's because it's in your brain. It's a finisher that you have after a meal, that you're expecting something. And we don't want to say, don't have cravings and don't have anything. You have to actually substitute it with something that works for you. That's the only way that, for me, and what I teach my clients is, that's how you get the success. Because if you are ever in deprivation, your body is going to react and it's going to either binge or it's going to want to have a craving even more. So really, it's retraining your thoughts to say, you know what? I don't need that almond flour, sugar, or I don't need the nuts or whatever vice I was having before. I'm going to have this butter because that's actually nourishing my body and my brain. It's going to make me feel good. And it's telling yourself this. And in terms of pattern changing, we think it's about 30 days to change a pattern. Actually, in fact, it's longer, around 66 days or even longer. So understanding that when we want to make a change, whether it be cravings, whether it be whatever the case is, even starting carnivore, just do one thing day in, day out and follow it through. Forget everything else. Don't try to do 5, 10 different things. That one thing. So for example, you're eating a meal, you're having a beautiful steak, and it's amazing, and you're feeling full, but you have that bit of an itch. But you have your butter, or you have, like, I also do carnivore bars as well. So I just have a quarter or a half of a carnivore bar because it's very fatty. You just have that.
The bars, I know what you're talking about. I'll link to them for people who are not aware. They're basically what, bars of just beef and salt and butter?
Yes. So for me, I love the one that has salt, because they've got larger chunks of salt in it. And when I have just a few bites of that after a meal, I feel very satisfied, because there's a difference between feeling hungry and that hunger feeling dissipates, because biologically that's what we want. We want to eat, no longer hungry, we stop. But then there's a different thing around being satisfied, around brain hunger. It's not physical hunger. You need something to say, you know what? I feel good. And especially those times that you feel stressed, lack of sleep, external stresses, or even internal stresses, you can definitely eat more, because a lot of the time what I do is, or what I've previously done is, I've eaten just to emotionally fill me up. But I don't need to emotionally fill me up. I do that through my affirmations, gratitude, mindset, meditation.
Can you share more about that? Like
Yeah,
all
sure.
of all of those things that you just
Yeah.
mentioned. Yeah.
So that's what that's what I'm super excited about. So in terms of what I do in the morning, I have a 5-minute gratitude journal. And really what I do is I write down what I'm grateful for, how I want the day to be, and who I am as a person. Because when we focus on gratitude, which is a higher emotion of love, we can't be angry, we can't be resentful, we can't have all these lesser powerful emotion. So it's changing your emotional state to experience higher levels of emotion. And love is the highest level of emotion. So if you can tune your brain to say, what am I grateful for? There can be things that happened yesterday. There can be simple things like, I'm so grateful that my dad has dementia, but he's still in my life. I'm so grateful that I can just still see him and he's half an hour away and I can still see him and he's still alive. And I have that opportunity to spend time with him. I'm so grateful, again, as an extension from my dad, that I can walk, because we take for granted the fact that our body just works without us asking for it. So when you detach from everything that's happening in your brain and you go towards the gratitude, that helps you behave at a higher level. Then I back that up also with affirmations. So I have a list of 60 affirmations that I say to myself. So one of them, for example, is the past is over. Today is the present. It's my opportunity to shine bright to the world. I am safe. But really, it's not as quickly as that. You really have to look at it and then you have to actually resonate with what that means for you. Because if you want a change, it has to come from deep within you. What does that mean to say, my past is over, my childhood trauma, my different relationships with, partners, or my relationship with my dad or my mom, or different things, that's done. All I have right now is what's happening. I'm talking to you, Sarah, which is absolutely beautiful. All I have is right now. So I want to put all my energy into you, into our conversation, because that's going to help me live a better life, because our life is all these little moments in accumulation. And on top of that, I'm safe. I'm okay. I'm okay. Like, if that makes so, yeah,
That's
it's a
so
bit woohoo.
beautiful.
Yeah,
No, I love.
it's a bit woohoo, but I
It's
do that.
not. No, no, I
Yeah.
believe in that 100%, controlling the thought patterns. You can redirect the thoughts that you want to keep having, and taking some time in the morning will literally change the wiring of your brain cells to connect all of those thoughts together, so that during the day, when maybe you're not being as conscious or as present regarding your thoughts, that default mode network, which is the series of thoughts that keep coming up, like by habit, so that starts to change slowly and surely. So I am 1,000% into the affirmations. I steal the JLo one. I am youthful and ageless at any age. No, I am youthful and ageless, yeah, at any age, or something like that. So I use that. I have a lot of affirmations, great gratitude, and I do them throughout the day as well.
Yes.
So I'm a huge believer in that. So that's wonderful.
Yeah.
What else? Tell us more.
Yeah, so meditation. So all these things that I'm saying, it doesn't take a long time. Every day, and we have busy lives, but every day it could just be 30 seconds, 1 minute, it could be 5 minutes, it could be half an hour. So when it comes to my gratitude journal, honestly, I just do it really, really fast, because I just think I have other things that I have to do, but I'm in the moment. Let me just take the time to write things down, because when you write things down, it's very different to what you're thinking. Or when you're thinking something like, oh, I'm thinking I'm grateful for my father. No, I'm writing it down. I'm thinking I'm grateful for, I'm writing it down. I'm grateful for my dad, and I visualize my father. So like that gratitude journal just takes a few minutes. Even if I don't have time, I'll literally do 30 seconds, but I do it every day. As I said, the affirmations. Then I do meditation. So this is sitting quietly. Again, sometimes I just do 5 minutes. and we all have 5 minutes. And these are things that you don't have to do all at once. These are tools in your tool belt to make you feel good. But when I back it up with these things one after the other, it really solidifies. I'm like, I feel really good.
Yeah.
But with the meditation, I don't do a guided meditation. I do a visual meditation. So when I write down what I'm grateful in my gratitude journal, I will visualize those things in my mind like they're true. So even sometimes I think about what I want for the future, and I visualize that happening right now. How does it look? How does it feel? What am I doing to achieve that goal? And I really feel it in my heart, in my body, in the reality that's around me. So I do that in terms of meditation. I also do this thing, which is I do a body scan, and I just this is in the meditation. I do a body scan where I'm just going down in my body, visualizing and saying thank you for my face, my neck. Thank you for my shoulders, my strong back. Thank you for my stomach, my legs and my feet. And thank you, universe, for carrying me through my life. Then the rest of the meditation is really about what my life is. All the dreams and visualizations that I have, I dream it, I feel it. And then I just thank the universe to say, thank you for guiding me. I know that you are guiding me to my higher purpose in life. And thank you. I'm yours to be guided. And that's my vessel. And that's what I give to the world.
That's amazing.
And
Yeah. I just want to say that if people are interested in meditation, which I highly recommend, even if you don't continuously do it, I think everybody should go through a course at least of a few months where they have developed a meditative practice. It literally resets your brain for life. So they can download Headspace app. That's just because the one that I've used. I'm sure there are other ones, and they do guided meditations in that app, right? And it's legit, and they do the body scan, and so you'll understand all of those different tools and techniques that can allow you to now control the thoughts that you want throughout the day. So that's just a little tip. Yeah.
And that's a really good tip when it comes to people just new to this, because if you're not used to doing this and know the practice, and there's so many different practices of how to do it, but guided meditation, like you said, Headspace, can be really good.
Yeah, wonderful. Okay, what else are we missing?
So for the daily, so for my mindset, so what I also do to control external stress is what's called box breathing. So have you heard of box breathing?
Yeah, for sure.
So another thing, another hack, because I'm all about hacks that can get you what's most effective to actually make change that you can do on a consistent basis, that's easy to do, doesn't take much time, and is free. I don't really like things that cost me money, so I try to utilize things that don't cost money. That is going to be really effective. So with box breathing, the reason why you want to do it is because a lot of the time when we're operating through life, we shallow breathe. We breathe through the upper part of our chest. Now, what that does is it affects your sympathetic nervous system, and it affects your central nervous system. It affects the way that you breathe, the way that you think, your heart, your blood flow, and everything around that, how your body operates. So the idea is if you slow down your breathing, so even now when I'm saying it so slow, it's a bit more relaxing. When I'm talking slower. So when we slow down our breathing, and what I do very simply is I breathe in for 4 counts, I hold for 4 counts, and then I breathe out for 4 counts. And I'll just do that for a minute or 2 minutes. And initially it is hard because we actually have 6,000 thoughts circulating in our brain every single day. There's so many thoughts, and initially it is quite hard to just breathe. It's difficult to just breathe, but staying with this course of I'm just going to try and breathe. And what happens is your breathing actually goes down into your diaphragm. So especially when you see opera singers and people like Beyonce and stuff, the way that they have a powerful voice and their power, it all comes from the diaphragm, which is deep inside. It's not from the shallow breathing. It's not coming from your throat. So the box breathing, it really helps when you have that moment and you just think, oh, rah, I'm so stressed or something. I lie
Yeah.
on the floor and I do
Yeah.
my box breathing.
Yeah. And so it's basically inhaling, right, for 4 seconds, holding for 4 seconds, and then exhaling for 4 seconds,
Yes.
right? There's that. I also know a different variation. I don't know if you've heard of Mark Divine. He's written books. He's like an ex-Marine. That's where I actually learned the first time I heard about box breathing. And he describes also a technique that they also call box breathing. So I'm sure there are different variations where you literally close the nostril, let's say the left nostril, you breathe in through your right, and then you hold. And then like, I think you breathe out through the other nostril and you repeat it. And that really slows down your breathing and kind of resets that your nervous system to calm down. So
Yes.
that's great if someone's having a craving also, or is going through an emotional time or a stressful time, to be able to control your state and your emotion using that.
And it's really good just to, sometimes when it comes to life, as you said, whether it be a craving, whether it be stress or something that's happening, we just need a bit of gap between event and reaction. And
Yes.
reaction doesn't have to be your words or your behavior. It can be what you're eating. So if you just give yourself that break, even for example, going for a walk, just 5 minutes,
Yeah.
5 minutes, see something else, do something different, just to give your body a break from the stimulus.
Great tip. Great tip, Rina. Do you feel that we've missed any important topic, or is there any main message that you would like to keep or leave our audience with?
I think overall, in terms of my successes, and even still now, it's a journey. But just to understand that it's a journey that you have to learn, relearn, and do, and then learn what works for you. So, for example, for me, when it comes to the diet, carnivore is what's working best, but you have to find what works for you. I always say carnivore cures, or eating a meat-based diet cures, but working on your mindset is really important, especially what we've spoken about today, all the different tools that we can use for us to be a powerhouse in our own journey and our life. That's what's important. Take the control for yourself, experiment, have fun, and just learn and live joyfully, because I think everybody can.
100%. Rina, where can people find you?
Yes, so I am 5minute Body on YouTube, on Instagram, and also my website as well. And I'll give you the links to put into your description so people can find me if they choose.
Yes, for sure. Thank you so much, Rina. I will post all of these links in the description box below so people can find you easily, your Instagram, your YouTube channel. And guys, I mean, it's guys and ladies. I have to keep training myself. You are going to find a wealth of information because Rina shares really amazing tips and it's the real deal. I mean, just look at her transformation and her glowing beauty, and you'll understand what I'm talking about. So thank you, Rina. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. If you like this video, make sure you give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and hit that little bell icon so YouTube alerts you every time I post a new video. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you in the next one.